way that happens is that we receive the love of God. And that love gives us the trust and gives us the initiative to be loving people to others. There's another dimension of God's love that's talked about in the Bible. In the Old Testament, into a covenant with the nation of Israel. That's called the Old Covenant. Well, we live in the New Covenant because our faith is built around Jesus Christ, not the law of Moses. Now, the law of Moses is still important, but Jesus Christ is the supreme importance from God. We live in covenant with him, but there's a word in the Old Testament that talks about how God relates to people in his covenant, in covenant with him. It's how he relates to you and me in our lives with him. The Hebrew word, and I'm not trying to be, whatever, but the Hebrew word is hesed. It's a beautiful Hebrew word. But no single English word can fully translate that word into English. So over the years that the Bible has been translated, different collections of words have been used to communicate this love that God has for us while we're in covenant with him. And this is the one that stands out for me. It is God's steadfast love and kindness to us. That's what God does for us. When we come to know Jesus Christ, when we allow Jesus Christ into our lives, we come into covenant with God in Jesus Christ, and it's that steadfast love and kindness of God that is always there for us. Always. It's also that kind of love that sustains us as we live our lives for God. Dwight Moody, who was an evangelist in Chicago back in the, I don't know if it was the late 1800s or the early 1900s, my history eludes me today, but he said, the world has not seen a single life that has been totally devoted and dedicated to God. Now I want to say, the first time I ever heard that quote, I said, but what about the Apostle Paul? I want to say the Apostle Paul dedicated his life to God and to carrying out the work that God gave him to do, as well as any other human being that's ever walked the face of this earth. I love that passage that Paul writes to the Corinthian church, chapter 11, 1 Corinthians chapter 11. He says, 5 times I received from the Jews 39 lashes. That means they beat him with a whip 39 lashes 5 times. 3 times I was beaten with rods. That meant the Roman government beat him, trying to shut him up. He said, once I was stoned and left to be dead, but I wasn't. 3 times I was shipwrecked. I've been in dangers with rivers, dangers from robbers, dangers from my countrymen, the Jews, danger from Gentiles, danger in cities, dangers in wilderness, dangers on the sea, dangers among false brethren. Now, I'm going to tell you, I don't know about you, but after I got that first beating, I may have shut up a little bit. But the Apostle Paul just kept going. And it's because of that steadfast, loving kindness of God in his life. He kept getting up. He kept walking back. He kept spreading the message of the love of God in Jesus Christ all around that Mediterranean Sea. Because God loved him and God put breath in his body and God gave him that chance. Paul talked about the love of God using some different words when he says, for I am convinced that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor any other created thing shall be able to separate us from the love of God which we know in Jesus Christ our Lord. That's what kept the Apostle Paul going. through all the difficult times of his life, through all the heartaches, through all the suffering, he kept going because of his love and because of the love of God in his life. That you don't live 90 years like Hazel did without knowing some difficulties. You know, I knew her up close as her pastor for 4 years, and those I think were probably pretty good years for her. I don't remember any traumas or tragedies in her life during that time. But my hunch is if you live 90 years, you're going to have some tough times. And I want to say the thing that kept Hazel going was because God loved her. And she loved God. And she loved her family. And it's always that love that just keeps us going. Because we want to know others and we want other people to know us. But the only people we're going to let know us is those that we believe love us. And it all starts with God. It all starts with God's love for us. Finally, God's love will bring us to our eternal home in heaven. I'm going to tell you something. I'm 71 years old. I know I don't look it. Terry might, but I don't. The older I get, the more the hope of heaven means to me. I hope the good Lord lets me live as long as Hazel lived. I hope the good Lord lets me live that long. But if not, that'll all be his business, not mine. In the Old Testament, there's not a really attractive picture of the life after death. In the Old Testament, it's just a place of the dead. There is no heaven and hell like there is in the New Testament. In the Old Testament, it's Sheol. It's just the pit, as the writers of the Psalms call it. Don't let my life be thrown into the pit. That's what they say to God in their prayers. It's not an attractive picture. But when we get to the New Testament, we have a whole lot better understanding of heaven. And Brother Moon has already read to you and preached very well about the vision that the Apostle John had of heaven, the new Jerusalem, the new heaven, the new earth, the pearly gates, the golden streets, the fact that there will be no more pain, sorrows, tears, death, all of that's been wiped away. The Apostle Paul, in the second letter to the Corinthians, he talks about a home in heaven made not by human hands, but by God's hands. That's about all Paul says about it. But do you know the one person in the Bible that tells us more about heaven and makes it the most attractive place to be is none other than Jesus Christ himself. Why do I believe in heaven? Because Jesus said it. And if Jesus said it, I'm going to take it to the bank. Jesus Christ. He told us in a parable about the rich man and Lazarus. Says, you know, the rich man fared sumptuously in this life, and Lazarus was brought every day to his door so that he could just eat the crumbs from his table. It says that the rich man died, but Lazarus, when he died, he was taken by the angels into the bosom of Abraham. And the rich man looks up into heaven and sees Lazarus in the bosom of Abraham. And what Lazarus didn't have on earth, he had in heaven. That picture of Lazarus being in the bosom of Abraham was that they were sharing a feast together. And the rich man, he was done. The second picture is, again, Terry mentioned it, or either Brother Moon mentioned it in their remarks. It's this night before Jesus was crucified, he told his disciples, he said, you believe in God, that's good, but believe also in me, because in my Father's house are many mansions. And I'm going to take you there one day. That's a pretty nice picture. That's a pretty attractive place to know that Jesus Christ one day is going to bring us, those who put their faith and trust and live their lives for him, they're going to have that mansion in heaven. And I don't care if it's just a little bitty shack out on the perimeter. I don't care where it is, as long as I get to be there. And then the next day, when Jesus was hanging from the cross, one of those thieves that was crucified with him said, would you remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus summoned up the physical strength to look at him and say, today, you will be with me in paradise. That word paradise is a beautiful word too. Think about going, I don't know if any of y'all have been to the Callaway Gardens down in Columbus, Georgia. I went there a few times. It's one of the most beautiful gardens that I've ever seen. But it would not hold a light. That's what the word paradise means. It's a beautiful garden. Even the Callaway Gardens